I reposted and renamed this video in honor of the first false flagging that I ever got that got one of my videos removed. So I renamed it and redid the ending. So please enjoy. As some of you may or may not know, I did a video on the Freedom of Choice Act a little while ago in response to a user named the Prolife guy. And basically I just read off the Freedom of Choice Act, but apparently it wasn't enough to stop, well, anybody. So I'm going to list in this video 10 of the top misconceptions or straight up lies produced by the pro-life campaign. So here they are. The first accusation is the Freedom of Choice Act will remove any and all restrictions and regulations on abortion at every level of government. The second accusation is that it will do away with informed consent laws, where the doctor has to tell you what's going on. The third accusation is that it strips the states of the rights to regulate abortion in any fashion. The fourth is that it strips the parents of the right to be involved in a minor's decision to have an abortion. The fifth says that it violates the so-called conscience clause, where doctors have the right to refuse to do an abortion themselves. The sixth accusation is that it will require the death of a fetus aborted alive and viable. The seventh is that it allows and legalizes partial birth abortions. The eighth accusation is that it forces taxpayers to pay for abortions. The ninth is that it allows abortions by non-physicians. And the 10th is that it forces hospitals to perform abortions. These are all 10 of the accusations. If any of them are true, as I'm reading off the Freedom of Choice Act again, they will light up in yellow like this. If any of them are false, they will get crossed out like this. Any questions? No? Good. Because here we go again. The Freedom of Choice Act.
The United States was founded on the principles of individual liberty, personal privacy, and equality. Such principles ensure that each individual is free to make the most intimate decisions, free from government interference and discrimination.
Okay, nothing so far.
A woman's decision to commence, prevent, continue, or terminate a pregnancy is one of the most intimate decisions an individual ever faces. As such, reproductive health decisions are best made by the woman in consultation with her medical provider or loved ones, without governmental interference.
Okay, so I'm going to say that that kind of does away with the informed consent laws, because it says you should consult your doctor.
In 1965 in Griswold versus Connecticut, and in 1973 in Roe versus Wade and Doe versus Bolton, the Supreme Court recognized the right to privacy protected by the Constitution, and that such right encompassed the right of every woman to weigh the personal, moral, religious considerations involved in deciding whether to commence, prevent, or continue or terminate a pregnancy.
Yeah, nothing new there.
The Roe v. Wade decision carefully balanced the rights of women to make important reproductive decisions with the state's interest in potential life. Under Roe v. Wade and Doe v. Bolton, a woman's right to choose to terminate her pregnancy is absolute only prior to fetal viability, with the state permitted to ban abortion after fetal viability, except when necessary to protect the life or health of a woman.
Okay, so that does away with the state laws thing, the regulation, and the partial birth abortions due to viability issues.
These decisions have protected the health and lives of women in the United States. Prior to Roe v. Wade decision, an estimated 1.2 million women each year were forced to resort to illegal abortions despite the known hazards that included unsanitary conditions, incompetent treatment, infection, hemorrhage, disfiguration, and death.
Yeah, okay, nothing new there, but funny how the pro-life never mentioned that.
According to the estimate prior to 1973, almost everybody knows this one, as many as 5,000 women died each year from the United States from the result of having illegal abortions.
And again?
In countries where abortions remain illegal, the risk of complications and maternal mortality is high. According to the World Health Organization, of the approximate 600,000 pregnancy-related deaths occurring annually around the world, 80,000 are associated with unsafe abortions.
Again, nothing, and again, no mention from the pro-life.
The Roe v. Wade decision explained the opportunities of women to participate equally in a society. In 1992, the Planned Parenthood versus Casey, the Supreme Court observed that the ability of women to participate equally in the economic and social life of the nation has been facilitated by their ability to control their reproductive lives.
So, still nothing, but that's why pro-life is anti-woman.
Even though the Roe v. Wade decision guaranteed the constitutional right to choose whether to terminate or continue a pregnancy, threats to that right remain, including possible reversal or further erosion by the Supreme Court of the right, and legislative and administrative policies at all levels of government that make abortion more difficult or dangerous to obtain.
Still nothing, but ditto from the last post.
87% of counties in the United States have no abortion provider. Legal barriers to the full range of reproductive services endanger the health and lives of women.
And again,
women should have meaningful access to reproductive health services to prevent unintended pregnancies, thereby reducing the need for abortions.
Something both sides yell for all the time.
To ensure that women's rights, a woman's right to choose whether to terminate a pregnancy is available to all women in the United States, federal protection of that right is necessary.
And boo go the pro-life, and they still have nothing to say.
Although Congress may not create constitutional rights without amending the Constitution, Congress may, where authorized by its enumerated powers and not prohibited by the Constitution, enact legislation to create and secure statutory rights in the areas of legitimate concern.
Moving on.
Congress has affirmative action. Okay, I can skip number 15. Federal protection of a woman's right to choose to prevent or terminate a pregnancy falls within the affirmative power of Congress, in part because many women cross state lines to obtain abortions, and many more would be forced to do so absent a constitutional right or federal protection. Reproductive health services are commercial actors that regularly purchase medicine, medical equipment, and necessary supplies from out-of-state providers. And reproductive health clinics employ doctors, nurses, and other personnel who travel across state lines in order to provide reproductive health services to patients. Now, if all of that was a little too difficult for you, here's a simple statement of policy. It is a policy of the United States that every woman has the fundamental right to choose to bear a child, terminate a pregnancy prior to fetal viability, or to terminate a pregnancy after fetal viability when necessary to protect the life or health of the woman.
And the rest of these accusations come from where?
But why do I need to go on? Really, in light of everything that I've just read, you are either A, incompetent, B, illiterate, which I like the idea of that, personally, or C, you are a liar. So which one is it?
I think the most poignant thing about all of this is that not a single person on the pro-life side that's been making any of these accusations has risen up to defend them. And I think that silence is deafening. How about you?
I have captured the enemy for meat testing. Praise me! Praise me!